Hi, to all students and teachers watching this video, good morning. Today, we're going to discuss the introduction of social studies. Here are the objectives. First, familiarize the different discipline and concept of social studies. Second, compare and contrast social studies and social science. Third, appreciate the importance and role played of social studies. The following are the topics to be discussed under the Topic 1, Introduction of Social Science. We have Evolution of Social Studies, Brief History of Social Studies, Teaching, Nature of Social Studies, Importance of Teaching Social Studies, and Similarities and Differences of Social Studies and Social Science. Now, let's start. When you hear the word social studies, what comes on your mind? Maybe your answer, social studies, is a boring subject. Some of you answers, social studies is more on memorization of facts, dates, person, and some of you answer, social studies is more on history. You will find out in these discussions what is social studies. Now, let us discuss the first subtopic, the evolution of social studies. And social studies in the pre-modern world covered a long span of time starting from the creation of human society in the world to the 17th to 18th century. Pre-modern world experienced many phases of human civilizations, ranging from hunting-gathering age, pastoral nomadic age, stone age, iron age, river valley civilization, and medieval age to 18th or 19th century. Since the days when the human beings put their feet in this world and establish a family and society, understanding of society or social system become necessary for them. Therefore, there was a necessity of learning of social sciences. In those days, the learning of social science was informal and unorganized one. As day by day, the human society became complex and social demands and challenges multiplied. Accordingly, the study of social sciences became a necessity. In the ancient and medieval world, there was a rare reference to social sciences in comparison to the modern world. Socrates, who introduced Socratic method, Aristotle introduced politics, and Plato introduced to us a republic, and more intellectuals of the ancient world contributed a lot to social science. These contributions are ever memorable works in the field of social science. The idea of social sciences was embodied in the civic oath of Greek when they were admitted to citizenship on attainment of maturity. They would take an oath in formal ceremony. The medieval and early modern world, large number of subjects which have wide implication for attainment of social values, like religious studies, economics, and business studies of state affairs, etc., become the part of education system. Social sciences originated in the 18th century in an effort to understand the character and feature of modern society. Montesquieu studied the spirit of laws, and Adam Smith of the Wealth of Nation. These are the exemplary texts of social sciences observing the difference between modern society and its feudal and ancient forms. These social scientists envisioned social sciences that would guide modern society in the future. We observe until now, the works and the contributions of Adam Smith are still there, the division of labor, and specifically in the field of economics as one of the branch of social studies or discipline of social studies. Likewise, the contribution of Montesquieu is all about the three branches of government, the spirit of the law. He proposed that the government should have three branches. People will enjoy the political liberty. if you check right now, today, in the modern world, our government, the different government, have a three branches, where the three branches are having a check and balance on each other. Social science in 18th century was introduced as a formal field of study and the part of university and higher education curriculum. The evolution and growth of social sciences are by the product of modernization, industrialization, renaissance, urbanization, growth of science, and many more related developments. Due to increasing of industrialization, modernization, scientific development, and etc., many social problems arise. And one of that, when the modern science creates germ for warfare, that and atoms for destruction of humanity. And I know everyone are very familiar for the World War I and the World War II. The misuse of science, urbanization, industrialization, and others has really become a threat to humanity in this world. The development brought many changes in human lives and living. Either it is brought unhappiness and difficulties for human society in the world. If you look at in this table, there are some texts or words for happiness and the difficulties. We have the commercial development in happiness, development of transportation are present, and for the communication, improvement of education and health condition, development of economic condition, and etc. While on the other hand, there is also a presence of difficulties where people are experienced. You have development of complexity in social life, political chaos, social disorganization and unrest, intellectual crisis, development of unhealthy and competition among the people. In order to counter all of these problems, the challenges, social science originated and become part of education learning system. Social sciences emerged and known as social studies around 20th century. Remember that social studies draw its contents from the different social sciences. But the question is why? Why? Oh why? What are the reasons why it should be emerged? The primary purpose of social studies is to help young people develop the ability to make informed and reasoned decisions for public good as citizens of a culturally diverse, democratic society in an independent world. And aside from that, as we discussed earlier, it was emerged for us to prevent and check the evil effects of science, modernization, and industrialization. Second, to guide the modern society for a better future. Third, if general sciences prove that it is capable of organizing forces of atom to cause the destruction of entire humanity in a single explosion, social studies will be abstract destruction of human society by forces. And the last one, in the modern age, as the new social problems are generating day by day, accordingly to new social sciences are emerging to solve, mitigate such problems. After the two world wars, social sciences have got high importance in school curriculum in most parts of the world. In post-World War periods, most of the international bodies relating to education like the UNESCO, UNICEF, the UNDP, and the UNO want to promote healthy social living among people of the world, which ultimately emphasizes the learning of social sciences. And it was anchored in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, last 1948. All human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. They are endowed with reason of conscience and should act towards one another in the spirit of the brotherhood. If you look at this explanation, the primary purpose is to avoid another conflict, another world war between countries to another country. To promote the healthy social living, Dolores Commission stresses a lot on learning to live together. This is one of the pillars of learning. Aside from learning to do, learning to be, learning to live together, and learning to know. The purpose is to promote the virtues of living together harmoniously and solving the diverse socio-cultural problems of the modern world. Second is further the creation of nation-states and practice of democratic and socialistic model of governance in such nation-states. Last is social sciences takes the responsibility to create effective citizens for the practice of democratic and socialistic governance in the nation-states. In year 1992, the Board of Directors of National Council for the Social Studies adopted the following definition. Social studies is the integrated study of the social sciences and humanities to promote civic competence. Social studies provides coordinated, systematic study drawing upon such disciplines such as anthropology, archaeology, economics, geography, history, law, philosophy, political science, psychology, religion, and sociology. Remember, what is the purpose of the social studies? The purpose is to help young people. In what? In developing the ability to make informed and reasoned decisions for the public good as citizens. Take note for that, for the public good as citizens of a culturally diverse, democratic society in an independent world. Social studies is the study of people. Why? Because people are the domain of the social studies. This includes people as nearby as family, as far away as those who live in the most distant nation. It includes people living now, those who lived long ago, and those who will live in the future. Social studies has the potential to be the best part of the school day. Why? Because it is when children connect with other people. As children learn about others, they will be fascinated by differences among cultural groups, and the information must come from many fields of the study. The National Council of Social Studies definition points out that it is the various discipline. When you say various, we have many disciplines that are integrated in one subject. Now that we have some sense of what social studies is, let's turn to another topic that will help establish a foundation for our teaching. We will discuss here the brief history of social studies teaching. Over the past 150 years, some of the greatest educational thinkers have turned their attention to social studies. Indeed, the history of social studies in regard to both what should be taught and how to teach it makes fascinating reading for anyone interested in teaching and learning. From the colonial times to the end of the 19th century, social studies was a very daring and imaginative business. Until the 20th century, the students are expected to memorize information from their textbooks, and they recite in the front of their classmates. And the textbooks were organized around questions. All the teachers only called on a student who stood and recited the answers. So that is the room settings during that time. In some parts of the world, specifically in America, in the 19th century, there's a great changes occurred in the social studies curriculum and instruction. This was the period of progressivism, the social and political movement that reformed American life between 1880 and 1920. This was profoundly influenced by educational philosophy of John Dewey and innovations of Francis W. Parker. Asserted that we learn to do by doing, to hear by hearing, and to think by thinking. He introduced also teacher-made materials, field trips, hands-on experiences. To make it short, these are the first-hand information. The study of geography began with trips to the surrounding countryside. Children observed and described what they saw. Following this first-hand experience, children made maps by molding sand. Later, they will draw their own maps. When they study history, Parker believed that the students should learn different points of view and not rely on the textbook as the sole source of information. Parker sought to develop each child a power of organized inference. Children should compare and contrast, speculate, and find generalization. Teachers should lead this process by planning activities, asking questions, and suggesting places where the answers could be found. One of the elements of Dewey philosophy was the importance of child-centered education. Children, he argued, he will receive the best education if they are given choices over what they learn. Dewey also stressed the importance of activity-based learning, calling for a challenging curriculum that provided children with many opportunities to build things, manipulate things, and create things. During the first 20 years of the 20th century, the influence of progressive education was considerable. Teachers should remember 4 ideas from progressive education. 1. Social studies is more than the memorization of facts. It is a discipline in which students learn to think, to make hypotheses, and to find answers. Second, social studies should be activity-based. Learning requires first-hand experiences. Children need to act, sing, build, dance, take field trips, and hands-on activities. Third one, social studies requires the use of many instructional materials. And the last, number 4, social studies instruction should incorporate the interests of children. To put this in practical terms, every instructional unit should be structured to the children select some of their learning activities. In the 1960s, social studies was re-examined. This was the Bruner and the new social studies. Bruner believed that the subject matter for social studies should be organized around 2 concepts. The first one is the structure of the discipline, and the second is the spiral curriculum. He thought that what students learn about any subjects should be determined by the most fundamental understanding that can be achieved of underlying principles that give structure to the subject. If we wanted our learners to learn from the field of economics, of course, we should first define the most important principle of the economics and then develop materials and activities to teach them. And second, Bruner also asserted the curriculum should be spiral. That is, this important concept or principle would be taught at several grade levels. As the children grow or as the learners grow older, the principle will be covered with greater sophistication. We believe that any concept could be simplified to taught to a child at any age. Bruner felt social studies should be based on inquiry learning. Inquiry is a process of solving problems and answering questions. Also, he wrote that one of the purposes of social studies was the development of an attitude toward an inquiry, towards guessing and hunches toward the possibility of solving problems of one's own. For example, if children were studying history, they should go about answering questions the same way real historians do. Teachers should remember 3 ideas from Jerome Bruner and the new social studies. First, Social studies should introduce students to the important principles of several social science disciplines, especially anthropology, economics, and sociology. Teaching these principles requires children to learn more than bits of information. For example, second graders who are learning about how food moves from farms to market should be introduced to the concept of economics, how they rely on others for basic needs. The teachers use here the interdisciplinary approach. Second, social studies should be include the doing of social science. That is, children should do the same things that historians, geographers, anthropologists, and political scientists do. For example, children can examine primary sources such as diary entries and old newspapers just like historians. And in this way, we teach our students to create of knowledge or creation of knowledge. Third and last, social studies should involve many opportunities for children to solve problems and answer complex questions. This is one of the factors that distinguishes effective teachers. They challenge their students to use the facts. They have learned to complete tasks requiring critical thinking. For example, a group of second graders could use what they have learned about their community to propose a location for a new park. So at this point, we will discuss the nature of social studies. As a future teacher, you should remember this. First, social studies are concerned with human study in relation to socio-cultural environment. And second, social studies establish the relationship among the present, past, and the future. Third, social studies have been evolved from social sciences as an instructional area in order to be taught at school level for promoting healthy social democratic living among others. Fourth, social studies stress more on contemporary human life and its problems than the past history of man. Fifth, social studies aims at enabling students to adjust to their socio-cultural environment, which includes family, community, state, nation, and at large, the entire humanity. 6. Social studies are realistic course because it happens day-to-day activity or deals with practical aspect of society. 7. Social studies are now at growing and developing stage. It is trying to make its scope broader and wider. And the last one, social studies are considered now as a core subject at school level for developing necessary competences relating to healthy social living. As a future teacher of social studies, you should always remember this. What is your responsibility as a teacher of social studies? First is to acquaint learners or students with their geographical, social, and cultural environment. They should learn it. You should know it. Second, to develop in students the sense of social competence and social commitment, their social responsibility in our community. Third, to develop democratic citizenship qualities among students. Fourth, to develop the spirit of patriotism, national feeling, and international understanding among students. Fifth, to help students to participate in socio-economic institutions. 6. To train students to solve the present and the forthcoming social issues and challenges. We will teach them how to become a problem solver and a critical thinker in the 21st century. And last, we should never forget that our aim or one of our responsibility as a teacher is to develop moral values, emotional qualities, and sense of belongingness among our learners. So at this part, the last part of our discussions, we will tackle what are the similarities and differences between social studies and social science. Let's discuss first the similarities. Social studies and social science are both related to society and have same aims and objectives. And another one, both emphasis on inculcating good qualities like truthfulness, sincerity, etc. of human being. Third, both helps to understand the various aspects of the society and utilize them. And the last one, both are must be accurate and reliable only, then can be useful. What are the differences between social studies and social science? Number one, the focus and emphasis of both are different. When a student studies geography as social science, he has no focus his attention on the methods of geography, tools and concepts, etc. While studying geography as social studies, he should focus attention on using ideas and concepts from geography to understand how his efforts to his environment have led to better life, how various geographical factors influence his life. Second, social sciences represent an adult approach, while social studies represent a child approach. How it happened? Social sciences are to be taught at the high school and college level, while social studies are simplified portion of social sciences to be taught at primary level. Third, social sciences are the theory part of human affairs. Social studies are the practice part of human affairs. Social science are the large bodies, organized and authentic knowledge representing human affairs, while social studies gives an insight into various aspects of man and society. Fourth, the social sciences are far larger than the social studies. The focus of social science is to find out new truth about human relationship. The purpose of the social studies is to guide adolescents in their learning of selected portion of what have been discovered into social sciences. And fifth, in social sciences, social utility is the primary object, while in social studies, instructional utility is the primary object. The last one, social sciences are the part of cultural of knowledge having direct bearing on man's activity in any field, while social studies offers learning situation and insight into all knowledge. So that's all for our discussions for our first topic. Sir Frank Jomoyka, your instructor in Social Foundation of Social Studies. Thank you and God bless everyone.